Let's have a look here. Let's have a look here. Test the mic real quick. Look here. All right, everything looks good. No worries. Alrighty, so my name's T-Break. Today we're going to be going over some of the recent developments in Terraformers, many worlds in particular. Today we got patch 2.12.1, so we're going to be introducing the four-dimensional movement and procedural world gen. Now I'm just about ready to push all all these changes directly to the DApp. Just gotta edit one or two more things. Now I will say there's a couple bugs here and there in terms of the UI, just because especially with the camera's got to be readjusted. I think it might be broken on launch, but I pretty much just woke up, so I'm gonna be spending the rest of today getting everything nice and polished. Then we'll do a git commit. We'll do a push to origin. Oh, but of course, I forgot one thing here. W, then over here. Okay, so now we are compiling. We can head over to Vercel. So it's building this right now, but it shouldn't be. Is there any way to we'll cancel this deployment, and then we'll just get it going straight into this one, just because this one had a typo in it. Do I promote the production? I think so. I think that's the angle here. Right. Actually, no, we canceled this one. Yeah, this is the one that's building. Excellent. So very soon we'll be able to see, this will all just say undefined, just because the React app's all out. So very soon we'll be able to see the fruits of our labor. Now this upgrade, I did a lot of work in the background. A good bit of that work you won't be able to see just yet. But while it's all getting ready and set, I think it's worth explaining how the procedural world generation has been improved upon, and there's still a good bit more work I want to do with it. Of course, when it comes to procedural world gen, you've got stuff such as Perlin noise, right? And so Perlin noise, very useful for creating a sort of more cohesive curvature to a gradient, especially in topography. It works substantially better when we take a closer look at this image. It works substantially better when you have a very, very high resolution, but of course we're limited in terms of resolution because all these are tiles, right? And all this has to be stored on chain, has to be processed on chain. So Perlin noise isn't entirely possible at the current fidelity, but it is possible to make algorithms similar to Perlin noise, but it's just a bit more simple, right? And what Perlin noise really does is it breaks it up, right? It breaks up all this giant board into a whole bunch of little grids, you know, little coordinates, right, that are composed of multiple tiles. Each corner of this, you know, little square, it will assign a random a role for a vector, right, a random direction, and then it will interpolate those 4 directions that are randomly rolled for on a cube, and it'll match it. It'll interpolate it and match it across all the other little grids, all the other, you know, little chunks. And what it ends up doing is it creates, you're able to put in, you know, octaves. You're able to put in, you know, it gives you a whole lot of control over the curvature of the landscape. And I think that's really important, because otherwise, you know, if you have just purely random generation, it looks kind of like bedrock, right? Whereas like you just have tiles that are just randomly up and then tiles that are randomly down. It doesn't really feel smooth. Doesn't really feel that great. Let's go ahead and see. All right, should be ready. Jump in there. I'll go ahead and I'll make all the campaign chapters active. All the different levels. Now, granted, the levels are now quite substantially difficult. Don't think many people will be going too far above just peanut mode for now, but we'll see how that plays out. Hop on in. Go ahead and log in here. Right. It's looking good. So let's go ahead. We'll choose a mercenary. All right, we'll do calculating brass. Actually, let's use, yeah, this is fine. Yeah, we'll use this guy. Bit of a side note, I am considering making it just because I don't think, you know, the magic find and the mining power number, just the EV for that, like I came up with it almost like a year before, you know, today, that table. And looking back at it, I think with how varied the classes are going to be, how impactful they're going to be, I think it's just too punishing to have the mining power and magic find be so vastly different. And then you have the case of right, like and it's like, yeah, by the way, gotta get the rarities up in here, gotta get the kingdom, the gates and stuff. That's definitely coming back. The whole mercenary tab is going to get improved quite a bit, and I'm thinking of having something that's going to show like a 3-dimensional rendering showing what does the move tile look like across, you know, the 4th dimension. But overall, I am thinking of making just make it a static. You know, you got a mercenary, you got a Lewd Momoko, you're gonna get 50 mining power, you're gonna get 50 magic find. Doesn't matter the rarity, right? I'll put a poll up for it, just for an origins. I'll see about it can't be done for mining as well, just because I feel that it's there's just too much variance, and it's just not it's too punishing, right? And I think it's like, hey, you know, you wanted a character to play the game. It's like you're gonna get a character to play the game. You're gonna get a different class, right? The variety should be in the classes, because in that department, it's like there's gonna be a whole lot of functionality implemented there. Now for the gates and the kingdom, we can have other bonuses and stuff put in there as well. But I think the mining power and magic find, yeah, maybe just simplify it a little bit there, make it a bit more fair. Let's go ahead and toss in some gear. We got a mercenary. This gives a bunch of energy. That gives a bunch of magic find. That gives a bunch of energy. I need a nice helmet now. Oh wait, 50%. 50% increase. That's crazy. Yeah, I'll go over this. So now, some of you want to be mindful of, right? You want to hit resources, and over here you can see the sum, you know, because you have like, you know, flat energy, and then you have percent increased energy, and then you have like more energy, which, you know, if you get inverted, it's less, right? So you want to see, you can see the sum right here. And you want to make sure before you go in, your total life has to be above 0. If your total life is below 0, you will be dead on arrival. You can't even move. You gotta just finish up the run and get out of there. All right. Now these numbers to the right of the sum of your resources, this is the amount you're regenerating every time you move. Right. Now, because the reason there's a range on it is so on the left side is what you are guaranteed to get. Right, because it's the sum of your flat regen and percent max regen, and on the right it's the sum of your flat regen percent max regen and percent missing. So the closer you are to 0 of your max resource, you're going to generate more and more. But as you can see, getting energy regeneration it's a pretty rare trait, and it only comes under the missing percentage type. So it's pretty rare, and it's pretty good if you can stack a whole bunch of max energy and then you get a whole bunch of percent missing energy. It's pretty good. As you can see, for example, for like plasma is like a secondary defense on top of your life. Life is like the really important one. We're generating like 0.018, right? Guaranteed, but it scales up to 0.91 depending on how much we're missing. So that's almost 10% missing plasma regen. And as you can see, for like the three like ability resources, you got ire, spirit, and flow. You can see you lose a good bit of ire every turn. The same with flow, right? But flow, like ire, it's like kind of static, right? How much you're losing every turn. But flow, you're losing about like 3 per turn. And you generate this just by like performing certain actions, which will be implemented in about 2 to 3 weeks time. But you lose a good bit of missing, right? So it's kind of like building, maintaining momentum sort of thing, right? So we got our gear. We're going to go ahead. We're going to hit return, hit the explore. Now, of course, with all blockchain games, and especially Terraformers, many worlds, you want to be very gentle, right? So these actions, right? This is an action, right? But due to the nature of the blockchain, sometimes blocks just get dropped, right? It's not a bug in the front end. It's not a bug on the blockchain or in the smart contracts. The transactions are sometimes big, and it just gets dropped. So you just got to do it again. But, be patient, right? Don't rush things. Don't spam, right? Don't spam. Otherwise, you might get timed out, or other scary things might happen. So first thing I am going to say is that the W, or not the W, the space bar, the repositioning of the camera, I'm going to work on that immediately after the stream and get that up to par. All right, I'm seeing, oh, hey, what's good, Fang? How you doing, man? How you doing? Is it possible to get an error when the block gets dropped? Like, you mean just something to pop up, something to show you that that's happened? It can. The thing is, when it usually like it tries to perform the transaction. It like what's happening is that like the transaction hasn't failed until a certain period of time if it is gonna get dropped. So it's like kind of just stuck in limbo until it fails, so it's not really possible. It's not very user friendly, to get errors when the block gets dropped. You just gotta wait and just try to push it again. Overall, I made some massive improvements to the CPU optimization. So now if we take a look here, so this now costs 15 milliseconds, right, to load in all of our gear, processing 3,000 traits across 1,199 variables that your character, your mercenary can influence through the gear and all kinds of things, and generating the entire world with like the whole 40 thing. It's only about 15 milliseconds. Now, before, this was closer to about 22 to 25-ish. Maybe not 25, I think, unless the blockchain's under some pretty heavy load. And also the amount of RAM, right? So before you were getting quoted, you gotta have like 50 kilobytes. So now this has dropped to about 24 kilobytes of RAM, right? So I made it substantially more resource efficient, and also movement as well. It's a good bit more resource efficient too. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the fourth dimension here. So the way it works is this is the normal stuff. We're already used to this, right? This little red tile, that's just a gate, right? A gate key. I just made it so that it's red. If you can move to it. So now we go over here. We found a key. Very nice. Now the way it works is we have a 9 by 9. Right, so that's what each little slice of a world is. I'm not explaining this in the best way. Basically, So in a fourth dimensional world, it contains multiple three-dimensional slices, and we experience three-dimensional reality, right? So this is like a slice of our realm, right? Now what you can do is you can travel four-dimensionally into other slices of the world, right? And so it's a 9 by 9 by 9 board. And so essentially, like normally with chess, with like 2D chess, as you're familiar with it, a knight can move in this sort of pattern. But now it's like, if you can imagine it, what's happening here is it's able to go. So like the algorithm for it is that it can move like two over and then one, right? Or like two over and then one. So now what can happen is it can move like two over and then it can do the one upwards, right? Or downwards. And that's basically what's happening over here, right? So you see it's like the coordinate, this is like essentially where like a one point above on this coordinate is where our mercenary is. And this is like, it's basically like right here, right? So it's gone through and it's gone up. I'm not sure if you guys can see my hands, my little signs on stream or not, but yeah, Fang, that's a good improvement, 50% improvement. Damn, yeah, man, just making it more and more efficient, right? That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Oh, you can see it, awesome, bro, awesome. But yeah, so now we can let's jump over to this dimension. You'll notice that the board, it kind of wraps in and around itself. Over here you can see the patterns a little bit different, because what's happening here is it's moving one over, right? It's one over and now two up, right? And likewise over here, it's one over and two down. So it really is a higher dimensional, higher dimensional pathing. Go ahead. Oh, we got some nice NFT drop rates here. Holy smokes. Go ahead and grab some of those. Let's hop over to here. Let's grab some of these. We'll hop over to there. We'll grab some of these. And so also the board now has it has wrapping as well, right? So if you go, as you can see, like it says you can move here, and that's because the board cuts off right here, right? So it just wraps around. Now this becomes particularly interesting with some of the things that I tested over on my on the like test deployment for Origins, and that's that when you have, like right now, the move pattern is a 2-1-0, right? When you go into larger movement patterns and stuff, the wrapping it just gets crazy. It gets absolutely crazy, and it adds a whole new dimension to the like the problem solving, right? It has a whole lot more depth, a whole lot more things that you can do. Let's go ahead and jump over here. Now I will say, I had my brother try out just like the higher dimensional aspect of the game for a little bit. He doesn't play much Terraformers, but I let him give him a shot, and he was telling me that, I think we got stuck here. No, okay. So he was telling me that it's a bit tough, seeing all the numbers everywhere. It's a bit of an eyesore. So I think that definitely needs to be improved in some capacity. I'm thinking personally, I think the energy cost coefficient, although it is an interesting mechanic, I think a better way to approach it would be to, just because it's not a very intuitive thing to look at, you can look at the number and you can piece together like, okay, this is more efficient than that. But now that there's tile elevation and there's height, it becomes kind of like, well, now you have to, like, let's say I want to choose between this tile and this tile. It's like, now I'm comparing like four numbers essentially, right? Two numbers that I gotta multiply against each other, right? It feels like it's a bit too demanding for something as simple as moving, so I'm thinking just removing the energy cost coefficient, and instead just sticking to tile elevation, right? So the energy cost coefficient, sometimes it goes between 0.6 to a 1.4 multiplier, applies to all actions, movements and events and stuff on that tile. And by by removing it, there would just be it would just be a static like 1x multiplier, right? And so you just worry about the tile elevation. And the thing is, well, because the game, like it can be rendered, right, the tile elevation, you don't have to play it with numbers, right? You can play the game without having to look at numbers, and just make it a bit easier on the eyes, right? I think it can add a whole lot to the experience. Now let's go ahead and figure out where's that last key over, right? Hop over to here. Let's hop over to here. We'll grab this. Now you can get pretty fast. You can get pretty fast. Something you want to be mindful of is that so you gotta play assuming that, like, okay, there's a lag, right? There's like a slight delay between what you see on screen and what is actually happening on chain. And that's kind of like the direction that the development's gonna go for a little bit. What am I doing here? So what I mean by that is, if I can, like, you can, like, okay, I can click here, a guy will move, I can click here, right? You can get by pretty quick, but if you wait, like you can like just push the action and then off you go, right? If you wait for a very, very long time, just to see the result or whatnot, you're basically slowing down your pace, and eventually we're gonna get rid of this whole little panel. That's basically what I'm gonna be spending most of today on, just cleaning this up and getting it into a much better shape and actually having a proper HUD. But I felt that this this little upgrade, patch 2.12.1, was a pretty sizable upgrade. I just want to get it out to you guys as fast as I could. Jump over to here, and we're off. All right, we've entered area 2. We found 2 NFTs. We got 10 fungibles. Let's see what we can do here. We'll hop over to here. Go ahead and grab this. Now, something I will note is that I was talking a little bit earlier about procedural generation and Perlin noise and whatnot. So I managed to come up with a nice little algorithm. And so what this algorithm does is it provides a little bit of dampening, right? It still makes the tiles that, some of them are a bit more sporadic, they're a bit more higher up, but overall it's like there's a little bit more nicer, smoother curvature across all of it. The algorithm for it, I don't know how I came up with it, but I somehow managed to, and it works pretty nicely, especially in the lower levels. Now in the higher levels, as you go on, something that as a whole, the concept of where you are is, you're kind of you're in like some sort of a simulation, kind of like a dungeon. And at the end of this dungeon, or like I guess somewhere in the center of it, there's a black hole. So the closer you approach, the end, the further you go, basically the closer you're getting to a black hole, or at least your mercenary is. And so things become under the effect of time dilation. Now, it might look like the board is the same size, but what's actually happening is your mercenary is getting smaller. You're getting way smaller. So the life forms you're going to encounter, they're going to be big. They're going to be really, really big. And same with the tiles. The tiles get absolutely massive as you go deeper and deeper. And I think after, let me try to grab, I'm gonna get like one more NFT here. After you get, I want to say like beyond like level or like difficulty 30 and whatnot, the board starts looking pretty crazy, and it feels like it's almost unplayable until you get some serious anti-dilation and you start gearing up for it. Black Fang, you're asking, can't you just have the total number? I agree, it is. The thing is, the numbers mean different things, right? So the elevation formula, it doesn't like this multiplier, it applies to all actions, and like, so that means if there's an event there, you interact with it, and moving to that tile. But the elevation, it just does kind of different things. So it's like it could be summed, but then it wouldn't be very informative, you know. I'm at a point right now where, you know, well, for the longest time I was developing under the guise of like, well, is it even possible, you know, can it even be done? Holy moly, dude, we got like a 86% chance on an NFT right there. That's crazy. But yeah, I was developing under the guise, or like under the prospect of, is it even possible, right? Can this even exist? Can this even be done? Now I'm looking at things as like, well, should this be done, right? Should this mechanic exist like this? Because I can make the numbers do all kinds of crazy things to add depth to the game. The question isn't, you know, like it's not so much about, well, how many numbers can I fit in this game, but more so about like, what are the best, you know, variables? What are the best numbers that can be put in the game that give a lot of functionality, that do a lot of things. You're actually able to enjoy the game to a greater degree, but also like it's not like terrible to understand. Like it doesn't feel like you're doing quantum mechanics just trying to play chess, you know. Um, my camera is bugged, so the zoom is not in the best spot. Might have to give it a. I have to jump over to here real quick and hop back in. So yeah, as a whole, it's like all the mechanics. There's like a lot of numbers, a lot of little details in the game. I'm trying to put it in a way so that it's as performative as possible, but also easily communicable. You know, if people don't understand me, if people don't understand the game, then I mean that's a shame, right? So far, I think the of everyone who's played the game, they've been very receptive. But the people who haven't played the game, well, they don't like it one bit. And because it's not a very easy thing to imagine. So, for example, this is essentially the terrain that we're going over is a nine-sided cube. Nine-sided cubes don't exist. It's a non-Euclidean shape. You cannot imagine this shape. It's not possible. Like you can imagine this board, but like imagining how it wraps in and around itself so that you can move through the fourth dimension, that you literally can't imagine that. This is the kind of game that like you just gotta bite the bullet and just play it. You know, don't think about it too much, right? Don't make it too tough for yourself, because it is a game. You know, we're just trying to have some fun here, trying to have a good time, trying to explore some technology, right? Um, but getting people over that hump of like, you know, spending it takes, I think it takes about like 15 minutes to teach someone. You know, you get them to do a run, and people get the hang of it. You know, people get the hang of it. But it is kind of like, you know, you gotta take a leap of faith, right? You gotta trust that like you will understand the game, you know, because it isn't that complex. It's got a lot of depth to it, but it's not like mind-boggling like complex, right? At least in its current stages, you know. Now we got proper tile elevation. I think we got a good bit of loot. I'm happy to finish up the run here. We've made it to area 2, so we can go ahead and finish the run. You know, so I mean, we got the elevation, we got the fourth dimension, we have our x and our y coordinates. We have time to an extent, right? Because as you move, while you regenerate resources, and well, life forms will be jumping around. You'll be able to see that very shortly. Um, so technically, as it stands, it is a five-dimensional game, but there's still one more dimension to go. There's still a little bit more depth that needs to be introduced in the game, and of course, that is where the whole many worlds part of Terraformers will come into play, right? That higher dimension is essentially, I'm going to be trying to make it so that there will be the fragmentation, so the divergence, right? So the branching and the convergence of timelines. That's kind of the goal here. And we're pretty close, right? Just one dimension to go, right? Just one dimension to go. We're gonna go ahead and claim our rewards. I gotta fix that little thing there as well. Now we can see our loot. It jumps right into here. We got good bit of stuff. What do we get? What do we get? Now I do want to say we've got across, of course, a bunch of elements that you're familiar with, but of course we have the Betsium, the Nefty blocks collaboration element, and Momokium, the Lewd Momoko collaboration element. I've been holding off on doing a big announcement for these just because I really want to make the UI look very nice. And let people like really know, like, hey, like there was effort put in between me and other people. We collaborated and we created some stuff so that it can be like an eternal reminder. People will play Terraformers and they'll be like, hey, you'll just see like the nifty blocks, little pointer. I'm thinking we gotta get something that really screams Lewd Momoko for Mokium as well. And we can of course update the art, update the details, all kinds of stuff like that. But yeah, I am putting it off just a little bit longer. I really want to make the whole Elements UI a bit better, and because it's like I don't want to be like screaming at the top of my lungs like, hey, you guys, like we got like a fungible token with this project. It's like, well, what can people do with that information? Well, you can use it in Origins, but you can't use it on swaps. You can't use, right? So it's like I want to make a big announcement about that at a point in time when people can actually apply that information, right? They can actually do something with it. So just hang in there. All right, let's have a look here. Playing itself is not too complex. The optimizing, though, that's another question. I agree. Monkey Taja. How's it going, by the way, man? Yeah, it's like, oh, geez, there's a moth in here. The ceiling it's unimaginably high, with NFTs being able to roll multiple the same traits as well. And it's like you guys only have 4 slots released. Hey, so the ceiling is unimaginably high, but I think that should make it a very, very compelling game as time goes on. Because I mentioned like finishing this game and then we'll do marketing and all kinds of great things are going to happen next. But really, this game is going to be a live service. There's always going to be more content, more depth being added into it. I mean, just in the past month, right? We like so many updates have been introduced into the game, to the point where it's like, I mean, look, I look at the patch notes sometimes, and I'm thinking like, well, what the hell even is this? Like it's true, the details are correct. These things are actually in the game and functional, right? Like anti-delation, all like the formulas and stuff. But it's like looking at it, it's like, Jesus Christ, like what is going on here? Black Fang is saying, can't wait for the UI upgrades. Really excited about the elements. Absolutely, fam. Absolutely. Because right now it's like you can use elements to re-roll your stuff. Yeah, we got a bunch of, hold on. Yeah, you can use it to re-roll your stuff. Let me see, do I have anything good here? We got an uncommon helmet here. Yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll metacraft this. Some Searchonium. So the metacrafting is well and good, but we need a little bit more functionality, right? This rolled worse, but that's just how it is sometimes. With a little bit more functionality, in particular, I think if you were able to craft some NFTs with elements, then I think that would be very, 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 very attractive, thing to tell people, right? It's like, hey, we got a collaboration element. Check it out. What can you do with it? You can get this very special NFT, right? And also, like Black Fan, like if there are NFTs, you got an idea for what an NFT in the game, or let's say some traits in the game, right? Some mechanics in the game. Let me know, right? It can be done. It can be made. Monkey Dodger, you're saying just finishing up work soonish. All good, busy. Hell yeah, man. We soon need quantum physics PhD to understand the game. Perhaps. you'll be all right. You'll be all right, man. I mean, it's complex, it's in depth, but also it's a kind of game that like you know that feeling of trying to like be a completionist, do everything right, really like finish the game right, like um just trying to hit like every single achievement, every single marker. That's not possible with this game. This is the kind of game that's like you got to work with what you got, right? You're not picking and choosing all that much. The cards kind of been dealt, right, for you, and you just gotta choose, the best hand that you can go with. You can, of course, in the realm of optimizing things and perfecting things, it's like, yeah, you can spend a good bit of time, but then again, you just gotta work with what you got. I'm thinking, I'm thinking, I want to salvage, just because these rolled pretty bad. Just a bunch of commons. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, we'll keep that. That's not bad. Not too good. Not too good. And oh well, this is quite nice. This is quite nice indeed. Oh yeah. We'll go ahead and burn these. Fingers crossed it upgrades the rarity. Oh, it did. It did upgrade the rarity. Very neat. Very, very neat. Let's go ahead and move these. We'll move these to over here. I was talking with Buzz King recently, and Buzz King was asking, he showed me an evil screenshot. So he was asking how to move the NFTs in the stash, and then he did this, right? And then he sent it. So he sent his like NFTs to somebody. So R.I.P. Buzz King. It's good. Personally, I cannot play casual games for long. I always need to try to optimize everything I do. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Yeah, it's what's it called? Power gaming, power maxing, something like that. Um, yeah. Well, I hope this proves to be a challenge for you, Monk. I know because I know you've built a couple tools for Terraformers in the past, so let me know what you think of the like the four-dimensional translations and stuff, and like let me know if you can figure out how to validate movement and stuff. Like, let's say you want to make a script for it, right? Because I think it's like at this point in the game, it's like I know most people are like, oh please don't bot my game, please, like you're a bad person if you bought my game, like for Terraformers, it's like, can you bot this game? Like for Origin, it's like, can you actually bot this game? Like, go ahead, like, show me, like, prove it. You know what I mean? Like, is it even possible, right? Uh, I personally don't know how I would do it with like the whole four-dimensional thing. Like, I genuinely don't know how I would do it. Um, it's too complex, right? It's like trying to wrap your head around how everything moves around. It's kind of baffling. So yeah, let me know how you feel about it. Right? Let me know how you feel about it. If you think the game can be scripted, then we'll see what can be done to make it more resistant, right? Because in these early days, right, we got about like 30 to 50 unique active wallets, but hey, they're real people. I can tell you that for sure. Um, it's important that we do all of this testing and stuff now so that it won't be a burden when it comes time to scale, right? A lot of ideas, they work well with maybe like 100 people. They work well with maybe even 1,000 people. But once it grows to like maybe 10,000 people, it's like the whole thing collapses all of a sudden, right? Maybe I'll build a bot to roam sometime. Yeah. What makes this game unbottable is CPU. That's true. That is true, and that's actually it behaves as a very interesting, sub currency of the game, which in a sense it should be part of every single crypto game in crypto project here on Wax, right? Um, because basically it's saying like CPU is almost like time itself, um, and you're basically like if you try to bot the game, it's like the big question that comes up is like, well, is this actually more lucrative than you using your CPU yourself and making like better decisions, right? If you want to use something like a neural network to train, or like just to try and train, like try to build like a data set on the game, it's like you'd have to recreate the whole game off chain at your own accord, and it's like if you can't get through the patch notes, good luck. You know what I mean? Doing that. You know what I mean? Like it's like it'll be humbling, right? At that point, it's like no way, no way. You got better things to do if you can do such a thing, right? If you can rebuild my entire game off chain, just so you can train your neural network, you got better things to do with your time. So as far as I can see it, like I genuinely, I don't really see the game being bottomable. I don't really see it being as too big of a concern. Building and training own AI model, yeah, no thanks. Yeah, and I mean it's like you don't even have the data set. You just don't have a data set. If you had a data set, maybe you could do something, but it's like this is how are you gonna get a data set, you know? Anyways, what I want to do, I want to just show a little bit how it looks as we go into the higher difficulties, right? You can go ahead and hit explore again. Exploration initiated. Good luck. Now that we're in, we have a look. So this is difficulty 10. We can see the tiles now a little bit of it, a little bit, and they're starting to float, right? They're starting to get a little bit taller, right? A little bit more variance. There's still a good bit of control, when you look at it as a whole. Good bit of control, right? Good bit of smoothing going on, good bit of nice little bit of elevation, which doesn't really matter much, but it's little details, right? It's all about tuning the matrix. Now I am gonna have to make the gate's a little bit more adaptive, just a little text. So that goes up a little bit higher, just so that you don't lose it. Same with the keys, I think. Yeah, same with the keys. Let's hop out of here. Go ahead and finish the run. Oh, and I haven't shown all the juice with the new world generation just yet. I'll show it after I show, Apocalypse. Hold on. Go ahead and hit explore. Are we in? Let's try it again. Origins, Apocalypse, initiated. Good luck. Yeah. So as you can see, sometimes the transaction gets dropped. Just want to be patient and have it go. So as you can see, when you get deeper and deeper into the game, if you're under severe time dilation, the tiles they start going up. The whole fucking world starts falling apart. Now I'd love to be able to move around a little bit and traverse this realm, but it's obvious. It is obvious that I'm a little peanut. I don't belong here. I'm not geared up for this, right? I can try to move here. Yeah, if I don't hit that, so moving here costs 790 energy. I literally can't even move. Yeah, holy smokes. Yeah, so where am I exactly? Okay, I'm over here, so I'm pretty down low. I remember the higher up the tile is, the greater the severity of the energy cost trying to get up there. So if I hit this right here, even getting to up here is like 395. Well, up here this is 596. This goes to 1500, 1800 there, 2179. Area difficulty 50, by the way, difficulty 50. So it becomes substantially more difficult, and of course, with an increase in difficulty, I'll make sure that the rewards are worthwhile. Because if there is no substantial reward for doing more difficult content, well then why should you play at all, right? The game's gotta continue to be rewarding, but it's important to not overcompensate the reward, right? There's been a lot of research done in that field, and it's like there needs to be a very fine balance where you feel that your efforts are rewarded, but it's not too rewarding to the point where it's like, there's like some games that you'll play where it's like you got to jump through so many hoops to just be balanced. And it's like if you're a very, if you're someone who really enjoys, obviously, Monk, you come to mind here, but if you're someone who enjoys optimizing things, it's like all of a sudden you're gonna find yourself in a position where it's like you gotta balance on your like your right leg, and then like be on your left toe, and like do all kinds of crazy things to just be as efficient as possible. And I find that kind of insufferable. I find that, like, that's just that like takes the fun out of it, right? If the path to like doing something is just, if something is so meta, it just invalidates every other strategy. I hate that, so definitely going to make sure that the rewards are worth your time, and it's worth your time to make progress and continue through the fifth dimension to see what you can get. Monkey asking, you got another comment up. You gonna build some models for us, like a dude running there and animated, jumping, climbing, flying to the tiles, etc. Yes, I'd love to, but I'm gonna need some team members to help me get there. Straight up. 2 years ago, I ran a team for Terraformers. Didn't know how to code at all when I started. I just had crazy ideas. Now, well, I still have crazy ideas, but at least I know how to code. So I should be in a much better position to run a team, I think. Um, Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I'll be able to secure um, a good bit of help and support from the Wax community, especially from Wax itself. And I'm reaching out to some people over on EOS as well. Try to get a little bit of support for this ambition. Yeah, getting some like 3D models and 3D animations is gonna be huge. It's like I can say, like, yeah, eventually it will 100% be here, but I can't say like, oh, it's gonna be here next week. So for a little bit longer, we're gonna have to deal with all the cubes, right? All the cubes, they're just random ass textures. I mean, to show you how the procedural gen's been upgraded, I don't know how much is gonna make sense, but I'm gonna do my best here. All right, so basically, the way it works, right? The way it works is for every single 9x9 grid, every single, three-dimensional slice, if you will, it rolls according to a biome, almost, right? So this has like the odds of rolling biome 0, which is Skylands, is 4,232, right? And then in the Skylands, it takes the tile elevation divided by the max tile elevation divided by 0.34, I believe, and basically you get a roll between 0 to 2. And so what happens here is that under the biome, like Skylands, if the tile is between 0 to like 0.33 of the elevation bracket, it will roll for different tiles. If it's between, like, let's say like subterranean, like ground tiles, right? If it's between like 1/3 and 2/3, it will roll a different bracket of tiles. If it's between 2/3 and a whole, it will roll another bracket of tiles. So we now have procedural generation that's different across worlds, as well as or like in sense of like, it's like across the different biomes, as well as throughout the different brackets of elevation in a single biome. So the amount of variation that this system can contain is absolutely bonkers. Once I get some 3D models in here, the game's gonna look absolutely beautiful. And the best part of it is that it's entirely on chain, and it's crazy efficient, all this data storage. Now what's also amazing about this is that the same way we have tiles and we have different brackets of elevation for which tiles can roll under which biome, well, The very, very, very same structure can be applied to life form generation. So depending on the biome, depending on the elevation, you're going to be finding different creatures are going to spawn there, right? And well, I mean, of course, they're going to be able to move around and stuff too, and they'll be able to go through, the fourth dimension just like you will. As well as going up and down the elevation and stuff, but just like the sheer amount of customizability that's come with this upgrade, with this little little advance within the architecture is absolutely it's absolutely insane. On the topic of combat and whatnot, I've got most of the algorithms figured out. Just like how they're gonna roll, what traits are they gonna have, how it's gonna scale and whatnot. The main concern for combat right now is NFTs in regards to weapons. All right, so before I jump into that, all right, so let's make a little notepad here, just so that we're all staying on the same page. All right, so we're talking about for combat, right? It's like algos are figured out, right? But before I get there, I gotta tell you, concerns, weapon, NFTs, all right? Current NFTs. So currently, we've got 4 slots released. All right, let's go ahead and let's get out of here. We have our helmet, we have our exosuit. Let's give that another shot. Interesting bug. We have our helmet, we have our exosuit, we got our gloves, we got our boots. Right now, we can't see, at least visually, we can't see the actual traits that rolled. We see the sum of all the traits modifiers and whatnot, but we don't see the actual traits. That needs to be improved ASAP. And that's why I haven't released new NFTs, because it's not hard to make them, right? The problem is that, okay, every single NFT, it has a particular trait cluster known as the implicits. The implicits cannot be changed, at least not easily. There will be some things you can do to them in the future, but for the most part, they can't be changed. And it's really important for you to be able to tell, well, what is the value of an NFT? A lot of it comes from its rarity, but also its implicit, because these are like the most difficult things to change as is. Now, with that being said, not only can you not see them, but also the implicits that the NFTs currently have. The implicits are statically defined by the template, but they can roll positive or negative. So there's considerable variation there. It's random, right? It was procedurally generated, or algorithmically generated. So I am going to be going in for every single NFT, creating custom handmade implicits, so that the NFTs actually have some identity, template to template. They actually have some genuine depth to them, right? Like, let's say, like, if you get this, it's like, it's going to give you a life. An incandescent heart, it's bound as you're guaranteed to get some life, right? That's kind of like how you should look at them. Now, for me to be able to do that, right, the most important thing is, right, hold on, so, man, fucking, I'm dropping the ball here. So I have to build a core NFT creator, right? I got to get this into the game. I got to get this into my own little, nice little thing I got to make, right? It's not far. It's not too far at all. But once this is built, right, then we're going to release all the equipment NFTs plus socketables, right? A good bit of work. I put a good bit of work in getting attribute summing for things once they're socketed in. It's just I got to figure out the best way to present this information, because again, it's like this is a case where there's just simply so much data and so much functionality, it becomes very difficult to communicate that. So if I hover over this NFT, it's going to tell me right now, well, these are the sum of all of its traits. Where do, like, even as it is right now, like, where can I fit displaying just the trait information, like what traits it has and if they rolled positive or negative, or like what their polarity is. And then it's like, well, how am I going to fit all the socketables within a screen and all of their traits as well as their sum of traits, right? So there's like a lot of little nuances here, and just it's just UI design really. But once that's done and once that's good, then we're gonna be absolutely cooking, right? We'll release all the equipment NFTs and socketables, and then we gotta build, right? Once that's done, then we'll build, right? Second deployment of in a core for weapons plus attachments, right? So your weapons are going to have their own socketables, which, you know, equivalent of which will be attachments. What's going to happen here, and the reason it's under a different deployment is because the generation is going to be vastly different, and how they're going to perform is going to be vastly different. So here's the key thing that you should know here. We'll go ahead and open. We'll toss up a new one. Right. Key things to know. Right. Weapons plus attachments. Right. You'll be able to equip 2 weapons. All right. Each weapon comes with a. Here, let's make this a bit bigger. Each weapon comes with a something like a basic attack and a special attack. All right. So way to look at it is like, I'm thinking about like, let's say like on a controller or something, right? You got 2 weapons. They each have a basic attack and a special attack. That's four you know, different abilities, right, that you can use, right? In a sense. Now the way they differ is that the weapons will, I'm still getting down to like the final details about it, but it's like how the weapon performs is the generative part, right? Like its attack pattern would be generative to an extent, right? The resources, like your basic attacks, right? Generally speaking, like basic attacks, they generate resources, right? Special attacks consume resources, right? They hit harder. They'll just do more special things. So for example, your basic attack on like, let's say a shotgun, you might be able to attack in like a 1x1 1-1-0, you know, translation grid. But if your special attack with a shotgun, you know, maybe you could do like a double pump or something. I don't know. And or just do like something crazy with it, and then like it could be like you can only perform a special attack with it every like 6 turns. It consumes like 13 ire, and then you can attack from like 4 dimensions away or something, right? So it's going to be like when you're choosing your weapons and you're choosing your attachments, you're trying to come up with a loadout that is able to fit almost any and all scenarios, right? Because sometimes you'll be right next to a block and the life form might be right in front of you, but you might not have a weapon, or you might not have a basic attack or a special attack that can actually hit them, right? So this approach to itemization, because in a lot of games, it's like, especially RPG games, you're gonna find like a weapon, you're gonna come up with a build, and it becomes a cookie cutter. It becomes I'm gonna use this sword and I will like destroy everything with just this one sword. I'm going to use the same move on every single opponent. With Origins of Terraformers, like that's not going to be the case. Every single attack that you do is going to be kind of situational. You know, you're going to be just kind of making the best of it, right? Doing what you can. The way, because, and you know, just something to note, right? If you take a look at like some of the NFTs, you're going to see that it says like, for example, minus 17.3% reduced damage with cryogenic skills, reduced damage with radioactive skills. So skills basically means any ability that you can use, including attacks, like including basic and special attacks with your weapons. Now, the way the attributes are summed, right, across all of these is, let's say you might have a shotgun that would have all like several of these tags, right? Like, so a shotgun might have like the telekinetic tag, it will have the range tag, it would be it might have the sawed-off shotgun tag, got the cryogenic tag, the radioactive tag, and everything has the all tag, right? And so it will go across all of the tags for your like ability, right? Because technically every single attack is an ability. You know, that's kind of just how it's going to be stored within the game. That's like seems to be the best way to structure it. And so all of these bonuses will apply to pretty much just all the tags that are on your ability. So optimizing for damage and whatnot is gonna be like the ceiling is insanely high, but it really is quite difficult, especially when you're trying to pick up like multiple. You're gonna use basically two different weapons, right? So you want to have as many positives for your two weapons and the least amount of negatives for them as well. Due to the nature of just the sheer amount of variation with on your gear, it's not very possible to choose your weapon before you're able to choose your gear. You know, choosing your weapon is like something that will come, I would say, after choosing putting together a nice loadout for your gear. And of course, like jewels, like socketables as a whole will help out a whole bunch on your gear for that purpose as well, just rounding out your damage and whatnot. Um, Now, despite that, right? Despite that being said, let's go back to this little notepad. Right? I'm thinking get combat out here. All right? Right? Get combat out here. Get people messing around with it, get people interacting with it, you know? And then we'll worry about how to handle all like the very unique interactions for weapons and attachments and abilities and stuff, and just how they're gonna work. Because there's a now that like some of the clay has been sort of set for terraformers, at least with all the procedural world gen and stuff and all the variables and modifiers you've got. um I'm starting to see a lot of potential for how abilities and stuff could could be introduced into the game in a way that isn't just a stat stick where you're just face checking things, right? So, for example, um, an ability could be increases the height of the tile that you're on. You can use it once per area, right? It'll just instantly double the height of the tile that you're on. That could be extremely valuable for if there's like a tile that's just slightly out of reach, right? Another example could be so if you have a regular 2 by 1 by 0 translation grid, you could have a ability that would give like a forced movement to maybe a particular tile, like instantly teleport to like this tile in this dimension, right? Or move exactly like one tile in front of you, right? You ever been like trying to get a key or trying to get an event and it's absolutely ruining you, you can't move there, right? Well, you can just force one translation over, right? There's a lot of potential in that realm. And I think like having combat just in the game, being able to interact with it, being able to use it, will inspire me to come up with different, more unique mechanics. And I think it'll make it so that, you know, when the core gets deployed for the weapons and attachments, it's going to be absolutely exceptional. And you better believe there's going to be another 3,000 traits here, right? Like you better believe it. All right, I think that about covers everything I wanted to cover today in this little update. I'm going to continue to work on this throughout the rest of the day. I'm basically just starting my day here. Um, yeah, we'll try to get the camera fixed. We'll get a nice proper HUD up as well. And if you guys have any questions, now would be the perfect time to ask. But other than that, I will catch you guys later. Zay, you're saying me too, hey buddy? Yeah, have a good day at work, man. Right on, right on. Okay, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Means a whole lot to me. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.